when I was new, it was my way or the highway. That was my kind of technique. It was like, hey, this is how you trade. If you don't trade this way, you suck. And then obviously as you get more experience in the market, and that's because during that period I was still at the point where I'm trying to convince myself to be a rule follower, right? When you come from being undisciplined, let's put it like this, right? I'm a big believer in something called conversion by immersion, right? My buddy Bob Vasile, if you didn't hear the podcast today, he did a guest podcast called 5 Ways to Become a Better Risk Taker. He preaches something called conversion by immersion, which means if you want to convert yourself, if you want to make change, you can't take these little baby steps and do it. You got to dive in, right? The best analogy I can give is me at the pool, right? I don't like cold water. So in the past, me getting into a pool, it used to be like you dip a toe and you're like, ooh. And then like, you inch like 2 toes in, and like an hour later you have like a whole foot in. And then like maybe like an hour after that, you kind of wiggle your body in, and even that, like your upper half is still out of it. You guys ever been there? You're tiptoeing on the floor and you're like, ooh, ooh. It gets up to like the chest area and it starts to tingle. You're like, ooh, 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 ooh. Right? And then eventually, right, you get into the pool. But by the time you get into the pool time's over because you spent 3 hours like slowly getting yourself into the pool. And what you've really done over those 3 hours is you've given yourself more pain, right? You've given yourself more pain. It's like slowly peeling off a Band-Aid, right? For especially you guys that have a little bit of hair on the arms or whatnot, right? Slowly peeling off a Band-Aid, and each individual hair is being plucked. It's like, ooh, ooh. I mean, ow, yeah, yeah, right? It hurts. Conversion by immersion is the exact opposite, because you'll do the same thing in your trading as well. Conversion by immersion is the exact opposite. It means you just jump in. You just fully commit, right? Instead of dipping a toe in that pool, you just jump. You jump in the air. Once you're in the air, right? Once you take that action, you have no choice but to do it. You go all in. And when you hit the water, it's cold. It's cold. But guess what? It's this initial shock, right? I can't be the only one that swims here. It's the initial shock, which is horrible, but then it's better, right? Same thing with a Band-Aid, right? You rip the Band-Aid off quick. It's an initial jolt of pain, right? But it's quick and it's over. It's quick and it's over. And I try to practice that in everything I do now as far as like opportunities. I did a podcast before telling you guys about how I was scared before all of my major commitments in life, whether it was becoming a trader, whether it was my first real estate property. Again, I just committed to a really big interview the other day, and part of me was starting to get a little scared, right? It was out of my comfort zone, right? You guys, I mean, despite me always talking about my awesomeness, I don't really like having my face out there. You guys that have been with me for a while, you kind of know that about me, that I would much rather not be a public figure. It's just not my thing. I'm a very kind of behind the scenes type of person. I just want to get my job done. I want to help people. I don't want any type of fame or publicity. I just want to do what I do. And this specific interview is going to be an in-person live video and all this other fun stuff. So as soon as part of me started to be like, you don't have to do this, Akil. You probably shouldn't. Guess what I did? Guess what I did? Yep. I quickly, as fast as I could, I typed in and I committed to the email and sent it. Because once I hit the send button, could I take it back? I guess you could always take it back. But once I hit the send button, boom, I committed. Now I have to do it. So when trading, When I first started trading, and you remember trading is making, you're basically switching your philosophy on the markets. Most of us are coming from this amateur mindset. Trading is gambling, just buy and sell, do everything reckless. You're changing your mindset to being rules based, and to not caring what Johnny Pipmeister on the forum is saying. You're only focused on your own strategy, your own style. And what you have to do is you have to fully commit to that. You have to immerse yourself in your philosophy. And when you immerse yourself in your philosophy, guess whose philosophy you don't give a rat's behind about? Anyone else's. So when people are talking about, oh, you got to use moving averages. No, you don't. That's silly. Oh, no, you got to use Bollinger Bands. No, you don't. That's silly. You're fully immersed in what you have to do, and your way is the only way. Why? Is your way really the only way? Is the way George trades the only way you can be successful? Realistically? George says yes, of course. Why would you even ask that? Right? No, it's not. But you have to convince yourself of that. You have to convince yourself that it is. You have to tell yourself that it is until you really believe it. You see this all the time with athletes, right? I hate when the media makes fun of athletes when they'll ask an athlete like, hey, so who do you think the best player in your league is? And they're like, me. And people are like, oh, hey, he's so arrogant. He's so cocky for thinking he's the best. Clearly, he's not the best player in his league. How can he say that he is? Well, I don't know how many of you guys have been involved at athletics at a very high level. If you're not 100% convinced that you're the best out there, you're not going to last very long. You can say the same thing for your job as well. If you don't go into your job, your workplace, and think that, hey, you're the best employee here, you're probably not going to be the one that gets that raise. You're probably not going to be the one that gets that promotion. You have to think you're the best. Now, in all honesty, when you go home, you can be like, okay, well, yeah, I know George is better than me. Why do I keep saying George? I didn't mean for you, George, but some other George. But anyway, it's the first name I keep saying. Like, I know that Johnny is better than me. But I'm not going to tell, when it's game time, I'm not going to tell myself that. You have to have that mentality. If not, you're not going to make it. Because guess what everyone else thinks? They're the best. So you convince yourself, you brainwash yourself. And when you brainwash yourself, you get very opinionated. And if you're very opinionated, you tend to lash out at others and say, no, you're wrong. This is right. Now, what happens is eventually you get to a level where you find success. And when you find success, you're out of that, you're converted. Right? I still think you have to think you're the best on that fun stuff, but you're converted. You're no longer in the process of converting yourself from one thing to another. You have gone through that process, and now you're trying to sustain that. And you become more open-minded, right? You can listen to other people saying, okay, I understand why he does Bollinger Bands. Okay, I can understand why the ADX is on there. Okay, I don't use the RSI that way, but I can understand what he's doing. Because at that point, you don't really care. You're already brainwashed in your style of trading that you're no longer influenced by anybody else. Does that make sense? You're no longer, that shiny thing no longer exists. Pound yen moving right now. That shiny thing syndrome no longer exists where Phil comes in and talks about a Bollinger Band system and now you ditch your strategy and you go start trading that. And that's the level where you get to. You just no longer care. You know, we got the video the other day where people are like, oh, pattern trading doesn't work, Akil. And everyone was like, you didn't get angry? Why? Why would I get angry? Works for me. Been very profitable doing it for years and years and years. Nothing to get angry about. So that's the type of character Phil is. Still in that phase of feisty.